recession is going round. People talking about the colors come to town. Fresh as a summer breeze, she'll take you by surprise.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Fresh Waves. Fresh Waves is a Whistle FM production, and we are live in the beautiful studios of Whistle FM in the heart of downtown Stouffville. We have a big shout-out going to Research Market and Bakery for the beautiful muffins in the studio this morning, and when I was there, I couldn't resist picking up strawberries. It's strawberry season. Woohoo! One of my favorite seasons, followed by peach season, which is like my second favorite season. Strawberries and peaches in Ontario. It just doesn't get any better than this. Good morning, Jason, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Waves. Thanks for being our technical producer this morning.
Good morning, Bren, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you on every Wednesday for Fresh Waves.
Oh, thanks.
You're so welcome.
This is our regular once-a-month decorating show, and we are so happy to have our regular decorating co-host, Jolana Pettifer.
Good morning, good morning. Great to be here.
Good morning. Jolana, you are of Jolana's Exceptional Home Decor. And you are so, we are so blessed to have you on our show once a month. People can phone in their decorating questions. They can look online on my website at freshwaves.ca, and you can see pictures of what we're going to be talking about today, some examples of some country decorating, because today is our Livin' the Dream at the Cottage show.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even if you're not living your dream at the cottage, a country home in and around Stouffville is a great thing to have as well. And there are a lot of people in Stouffville who don't live in the town proper, but live in the rural areas. And they do have country properties.
Sure they do.
And so it's nice to use this in your home even, or maybe even change a room in your subdivision home into your country retreat. There's an idea, isn't it? Bring a little bit of the country into the village of Stouffville. Okay, it's a town of Stouffville, but you know, there you go. So Jolana, let's talk cottaging and country decorating. It's not something that we normally talk about. So I'm looking forward to it because I love that cozy cottage feeling. I love it. I love a swinging screen door that smacks against the side of the house and makes that sound like somebody just ran in or ran out and you want to yell, "Don't slam the door." But it's a great sound.
Yeah. So what I love about cottages, there are so many different types of decorating. Some people like that really relaxed cottage living. Others like to make sure that the space is conducive to lots and lots of people. Other people go up there for a retreat to get away just by themselves. So depending on how you see using your cottage, you really want to decorate around
and some people
right?
use it for all of the above.
Oh my goodness, absolutely they do. Like to me, living the dream at the cottage, right? If you happen to be on a lake, oh my goodness, how absolutely incredible. What I like to say at a cottage, yesterday and tomorrow don't matter. It's all about the now. So it's just being able to get away somewhere and just appreciate what family is to you, what nature means to you. I just love helping people do their cottages. So getting back on track, cottages. So again, most people do not want to do a cottage where it's high maintenance. So really, really important when you start to think about a direction. Do you want flooring? Do you want hardwood? Do you want vinyl? Do you want carpeting? You really have to sit down and plan it out. So you have a cottage, so you can speak to that point.
Well, as a matter of fact, we had to redo the floors because one spring we had spring runoff flooding in the cottage.
Yep.
And I phoned because I wasn't there, and that's another decorating glitch for cottages, is that you're often not there and you have to arrange these things from here in the city. So I called up, and the guys at Cordell, who are really, really nice people, they said, well, you know, we can send you sort of computer images, but you have to know that the computer makes the images brighter, whatever. I said, you know what? I'm not there. Can you take your swatches of flooring outside? Because I knew I wanted to go with something like a Pergo, and I don't, what's that, a laminate?
Yeah.
And I said, take them outside. Whichever one matches the dirt is the one that I want. I don't want to be sweeping every time a dog hair, a person comes in with sand on their feet. I want it to be the color of dirt.
And it's a very, very valid point.
He laughed, but you know what? I've got a pine floor that does not show the dirt, and it is fantastic. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And even, a lot of people like to do porcelain as well in a cottage. And if you do a tile that gives you the look of, like a slate, for example.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful because, again, it says, come on in. Don't worry about taking your shoes off. And we don't always get to vacuuming every day and washing the floors at a cottage. And really, should we?
And
I don't think so.
I've seen vinyl flooring now, or laminate, I guess it is, that looks like slate. And honestly, unless you're walking on it, you cannot tell the difference.
No,
it's stunning.
Absolutely.
It's
and
stunning.
some of the vinyl products, which is more the porcelain look, you actually grout it. So it's really hard for someone to tell whether or not it actually is a porcelain tile or not.
Wow.
So it's wonderful. And then taking it one step further, doing the vinyl flooring that looks like hardwood. Oh my gosh, it is absolutely unbelievable. So it's water resistant. Again, you're going to pick a color so that, like you said, it's going to be sort of the color of dirt, which is gorgeous. So think of like a weathered wood, for example. It's something that you are going to feel comfortable walking on. You're not going to have to worry about scratches. A lot of people take their pets to the cottages, right? So for some people, hardwood is completely out of the question just because, dogs, nails, or cats, or whatever you happen to have, really play havoc with respect to your flooring.
And the other thing to keep in mind with flooring at the cottage is the fact that a lot of people close it down as of October 30, Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, if it's not winterized, I mean, you've got to also
you've got extreme temperatures going on, and when you have hardwood, that expanding and the contracting of the wood is not very good for it. So it won't give you the longevity of hardwood that you would get in a normal situation where your heat is sort of on and consistent. And then the people who use their cottage, but then they leave and turn the heat down to 5 or turn it off. So it's getting heated up really quickly over a weekend in the winter and cooled off really fast. And again,
now, having said that, we have done cottages where they have used reclaimed elm, right? So the fact that it spreads and it gives you the gaps and you paint all your joints black and then you sand it and you can absolutely, but of course you have to have a budget that can support that too. So there is really no right or wrong answer. It's you have to sit down and decide, how are we going to use this cottage? What do we want it to do for us? I think once you can give yourself a clear direction, then it's really easy to start looking at your options. And of course, budget is a big one.
Budget's a huge consideration at a cottage.
Yeah, and even maintenance. Like, do you want something that you have to worry about maintaining? Again, that's everyone has to individually answer that question themselves.
Okay. Let's start at the front door like we usually do and work our way in. So most cottages, not all, most don't have a great entrance space. The kind of cabin-like cottages. You're walking right into a living room or right into the side of a kitchen. You don't have the luxury of a big entranceway.
No. And also the other thing that kind of comes into play is it's going to be water side or street side, because you have to think about how is this going to be used, right? So a lot of cottages are in these charming little areas where it's just dirt roads coming in, dirt roads going out, or you are really close to that water. So again, this is somewhere where either your porcelain option comes into play, and again, choose something that looks natural. Unless you have a cottage again where you're going to, go really above and beyond, that's fine, but choose appropriate, tiles. The bigger the better, less grout lines, for example. So as you're washing floors, it's not going to stain down the road, which is really, really nice. Also coming in from the water side, if people are coming in to use the washroom, and it's, you have to go through the living room and into the bathroom because it's not built like a house where it, again, everyone is going to be different. That porcelain option, or again, the vinyl option, you don't have to worry about water being an issue. So coming in through the front door, usually you come into a great room. Again, every cottage is different.
Yep.
And the great room is typically used as that gathering place. What I have found, and I love this, TVs generally don't go into the great room. And I love that. It becomes a space where you want to get away from that, you know, two-thumbed world of texting and Instagramming and whatever else everyone is doing, and just being able to be a family or to be together. Make sure that the furniture in there is suitable and comfortable so that you do have the kids wanting to spend time with you, right? So if you're worried about them putting their feet up or taking a drink in or whatever, you're right away saying this is not a space that's for you. So again, pick appropriate type of fabrics. Leathers are great because they can be wiped down. Vinyls are great. They can be wiped down. Sunbrella fabrics, they're great because you can wash them and clean them. So as you're choosing your pieces, be really conscious that there are so many things out there that are conducive to that cottage living. Absolutely 100% important.
Yeah.
And if you have a smaller space and you want to have, like you said, sometimes the intimate family, but sometimes you have all the family members, there are coffee tables out there where you can put 4 benches underneath them. So when extra people come, you pull out the benches and they can sit down.
Cool.
So
what a great idea.
Yeah. So small spaces, can give you a tremendous amount of options for, you know, facilitating the needs that you want them to address. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's absolutely wonderful. End tables, you know, getting bunching tables where 2 or 3 or 4 tables fit into each other. So when you're actually entertaining, you pull them out and put them where you need them to go. But for every day, when you want to maximize on the amount of space that's in there, you actually can put them all together. So really, really think about the pieces you're going to put in there. Lighting. I cannot tell you how important lighting is.
Or lack thereof, since I was up last
lack
week.
thereof.
I was up last week and we had a power failure for 45 hours. 45 hours without power.
Yeah, so things like battery operated
Where
candles.
did I put the emergency candles? Note to self. Find them.
Yeah. You know what? You're better off to just put battery operated candles that you know if there is an issue, you just turn it on with your remote.
They don't last for 45 hours though, usually.
Just make sure you've got your batteries.
Yep.
Just have a stash of extra batteries. Put them into your plastic bag.
Yeah, but you know what? The candlelight looked so beautiful. I had forgotten how warm and inviting candlelight is.
It is. You just have to be very careful because people are going in and out constantly. You know, you get distracted. You want to go for a boat ride. You don't have to worry about it if it's a battery. Right. You have to be very careful. If you're sitting around the dining room table, oh my goodness, absolutely get yourself, I don't know if you've seen those really long, they're about 4 inches wide, about 6 inches high, and they come about 30 inches with like 8 or 10 or 12 wicks at the top of them. You light that and it is absolutely spectacular. So it's the ambiance. Don't forget to put dimmers on your lights. I mean, I know it's a cottage, but don't you want to have that nice, warm, romantic or soothing or whatever kind of light in there? Continue that on into your cottage. There is no reason why you can't have, you know, the ability to create just this beautiful feeling in the room.
Good idea, because that's not really very expensive either.
No, they're not.
It's a nice cheap way of being able to create some atmosphere.
Absolutely. And today with all the LED lighting, there are, you know, dimmers that are actually meant to work with it. Where years ago, you know, you'd start to dim it and they'd start flickering. So no. And when you are doing your LED or choosing your LED lights, choose the warm light. Do not choose the blue light. There's nothing more harsh than turning on the light. And it's like a baseball stadium. Again, who wants to be in a room like that? So, yeah.
And if you drop something, use a flashlight to find it. You don't have to have your overhead light so bright that you can find a pin in the haystack kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I really like the fact that you're bringing some sort of modern conveniences into the cottage. I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's just the cottage. Oh, I have this old couch. I'm going to take it to the cottage. Oh, look. nobody uses this anymore. Let's take it to the cottage. And the cottage becomes the family dumping ground for old discarded things that nobody wants. And then you look at it at the cottage and think, it doesn't fit here either.
But, okay, so this is where I get really excited because you can repaint, you can repurpose, you can make something that didn't work in your house and you went, oh my gosh, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. You can go and get some great cottage paint and you put it into a bedroom and you have got yourself an absolutely incredible looking space. So it may take a little bit of elbow grease, and don't be afraid to do color. Like heck, do, you know, cottage creams or do the oxblood red or do the robin's egg blue. It is a cottage. You're not going to get tired of it. If you want to still keep your master bedroom quite neutral, that's fine, but put it into the guest room. So when your guests come in, it's wonderful. And there's all sorts of tricks too when you're making the beds, because I know a lot of people, especially when it's a guest, like you don't want to give your host all this work, to do all the linens after you leave. So some people, and I never even thought of this, but they bring their own linens.
It happens at our cottage all the time.
That?
Yeah.
I thought
and it's
that
so
was
nice.
great.
Those are the nicest guests.
Yeah.
Oh, you've left my clean sheets and you've taken yours with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
or they'll bring sleeping bags or something, right?
I'm so happy.
But, yeah, it's great. It's great. So you want to make, again, the space, welcoming and warm and inviting and interesting. This is another opportunity for art. Of course, you can buy art, but why not, if you've got kids that are talented or if you're talented yourself, do your own, you know, buy some canvases, do some painting.
One year I bought a massive canvas, like a 4x4, 4 feet by 4 feet. And everyone who came to the cottage painted something on it in the summertime. And at the end of the year, at the end of the season, you have the most spectacular piece of art. And it's just so representative of everyone who's been to the cottage. And we always have a guest book. The cottage always has a guest book, and people are always encouraged to write something in the guest book or do a drawing or
an inspirational saying, whatever.
Whatever
right?
they want, but it's a record of them. Yep. And it's a nice thing to have and to look back on.
And what's more Canadian than actually getting a canvas and painting a Canada flag on it and maybe weathering it a little bit and putting it up at the cottage? All these incredible little cottage sayings that you see, of course you can buy them, but there's no reason why you can't do them yourself.
Yeah, my favorite one is it's 5 o'clock somewhere. That's a great cottage slogan.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, when my mom says, it isn't even noon yet and you people are already having a beer. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Grandma.
Yes, it is.
We're on Australia time today.
Yeah, so there are so many things that you can do without spending a tremendous amount of money to make your cottage warm and inviting and interesting. One of the cottages I went to, they have lots of the river rocks, and they're small, they're smooth, and they're very thin, and they have a basket right by the front door with a marker. Everyone who comes in writes their name on these stones, and it goes into this just beautiful, think of like a hurricane lamp.
Nice.
And then they put a candle inside of it. So it's all the people that have been a part of this cottage and, you know, adding to the joy of the family that owns the cottage. It's actually now become a piece of the cottage. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's
a really nice idea.
Ridiculous.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah. So again, think outside the box. You know, when you're setting the table, how many of us have to cut down trees at a cottage? Lots, right? Storm comes in, you got to take some out. Take your chainsaw and cut, whether it's a coaster size or whether it's a charger size for under a plate. Like, do something with what you're actually using. Throw some varathane on it, some varathane, so that it's not going to get damaged if food spills on it or what have you.
Well, we went to a quarry
to
get slabs for outside, some stone slabs for my neighbor's cottage, and they're gorgeous. So instead of going to a a hard landscaping company of some kind, like Farmer Jack's. We're up north. We went right to the quarry, and they cut the slabs for us. But there's always chipping. There's always pieces, like large chunks, like the size of a cutting board.
Yep.
That get split off of the rock. And we brought one back, and we're using it to cook fish on the barbecue. And it's a granite slab. And it's gorgeous.
Right?
Love it.
Yeah. And it becomes not only a keepsake, but it becomes a point of conversation, because I'm sure everyone always asks, "Oh, Lee, where did you get that?"
Yeah. Why are you putting it on the barbecue?
Yeah, and it's local.
It is.
I remember when we were in, I think it was Newfoundland, we went to, I can't even tell you where we were, but they brought out this quartz slab. They heated it to super high heat in the oven. They brought it up, and then we actually cooked our meal on it.
Wow. Neat.
It was awesome. So there's food for thought for you too. So there are things you can do. You just have to, I think, really allow yourself to think outside the box.
Right.
If one thing again that's hugely lacking in a lot of cottages is where to put stuff, where to store stuff, what to do with it.
And that's what we're going to talk about after this little break that we have to take here at the station. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about unique storage ideas for small spaces. Stay tuned. We have Jolana Pettifer in the studio this morning, and I'm your host, Bren Masson. We'll be right back.